A few updates on our Daufuskie Island ferry service. Last Tuesday morning, our new provider began providing services 4 trips a day, or 8 trips a day, 4 round trips a day to Daufuskie Island. That started at 7 a.m., just like clockwork, just like normal, moving our Daufuskie Island residents and guests back and forth from the island. First, I want to address a few of the comments that have been in the news. The Daufuskie Island ferry service has been characterized as a Beaufort County service. So Beaufort County supplements this service. To truly provide this holistic service costs more than $1 million a year. The county supplements this service by ensuring that our Daufuskie Island residents, our qualified discounted residents, can use this ferry service at a lower rate. So the cost of the seat is much less expensive for our residents. So the county's investment here is not to cover the whole cost of the ferry. We supplement the cost of the riders going back and forth on the ferry. So there seems to be a little confusion about that. I'll talk about our current contract. So in our contract, it requires those 4 trips per day or 4 round trips per day at specified times. The new contract is identical to the old contract. The same number of trips per day, the same times per day. The location changed from Buckingham Landing over to Pinckney Island, which is a few hundred yards away, or maybe a little farther than that, but pretty close, just the other side of the river. The contract requires a minimum of a 40-passenger vessel with a climate-controlled enclosure to protect from extreme weather conditions. And the ticket sale price is set for residents. It's in the schedule, and I'll tell you about those. A level one resident is a 4% taxpayer owner, so they live on the island, and their fee is $4 each way. A level 2 is a full-time resident non-owner, so this might be someone who rents a place on the island. Their tickets are $5 each way. And then level 3 is a 6% owner or a non-full-time resident, but they own property on the island, and their rate is $8 each way. And each of those types of categories has an account. When folks make an account, they also identify their dependents of that account, and it's very specific to what a dependent is, someone that lives with them full-time. You know, if my adult kids don't live with me, so my adult kids would not necessarily get a free ride on my personal ferry account because they don't live with me. If they did, they would be considered my dependents, for an example. This is to make sure, or to ensure, that our provider makes up the difference between what we supplement and what the actual service costs. So the provider really will only start making money when the ferry becomes full in the summertime, right? Some of the other issues, and like I said, that contract is, I won't say word for word, but extremely close to the 2021 contract with the previous provider. Not a lot of changes. One of the things in the old contract and the new contract talks about cargo. The cargo, often when you fly in an airplane, it's called baggage. And right? So when we fly in an airplane, we take our baggage. We get a carry-on, we get a suitcase, right? Anything more than that, we pay extra. On a maritime application, anything we carry on a boat is called cargo. So it still all has the same meaning. You get a carry-on and you get your piece of luggage. The way boats are rated, these boats in particular, let's say if we had 42 passengers, the vessel will be rated for a certain amount of cargo. So a 42-passenger boat is rated for 2,800 pounds of cargo. When you divide the two, it's 66 pounds per person of cargo that each seat hauls, if that makes sense. So when a vessel travels on the water, it has to be balanced right. It has to have the right ratio of seats to the right ratio of cargo, those types of things. So the reason I'm talking about cargo so much is we got a lot of complaints about cargo and how we're going to haul things back and forth. So at present, our new provider in the contract provides the same level of service as cargo as our previous provider. They get a carry-on bag, they get a suitcase that they can bring, or they can bring, we call them grocery wagons. So a lot of residents on the island use these kind of collapsible grocery wagons. There's still an expectation they can bring their carry-on and bring their grocery wagon just like they have before. Right now is a great time of year to start something new. Although it's really cold. Mr. Larson rode out there on Sunday, and the weather is unpleasant out on the water, that's for sure. But the ridership is really low, so while we're learning to do a new process and learning to manage it, the ridership and the pressure on it is pretty small. I think a few riders first thing in the morning, 2 or 3 or 4 riders and back. We'll see that increase as we go along. One of the other complaints is about the speed of the boat back and forth. Nothing in our contract, our old contract or our new contract, identified any minimum or maximum length of time for the ferry to get back and forth. The speed of the ferry can have anything to do with the weather of the day, with the mood of the captain. It is the captain's vessel when they're operating the vessel. So they will operate the vessel in a safe manner. Now, the owner-operator of that wants as efficient as possible. And sometimes operating a vessel that size as quickly as possible, they may get folks from one place to the other, but may burn twice as much fuel to achieve that. It is the owner-operator's discretion on how to operate those vessels so that they're maximize their efficiency. So I think I've heard or read everything from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Mr. Lawson and I talked, and I think he experienced an hour or an hour and 10 minutes-ish is about the average trip. It's going to differ every time the ferry goes back and forth based on which way the wind's going, which way the tide's going, and perhaps who's driving the boat. I probably would drive fast and get in trouble, but yeah, it's just me. I heard some comments about the old ferry service provided a 5th trip once a week. They called it the Friday night dinner cruise. Our contract is for those 4 round trips per day. If the previous provider was providing a Friday night trip, that's awesome. The new provider can do the same thing, but it is at the purview of that provider and of the visitors or residents that want to use that. I spoke to the owner-operator this morning. He's more than willing to entertain any of those kind of options, but that is really outside of the county's purview and not something we would negotiate. A resident of the island or a group of residents could say, hey, 20 of us want to go to dinner on Friday night. I guarantee if they called the owner-operator and asked for that, he would negotiate an opportunity for them to make that happen. Not a problem. Let's see. I don't have any. There are many other kinds of things that are going out there in the media. I believe we have a well-qualified provider. He's willing to go out of his way and accommodate as best as possible. And I don't really want to create a big discussion here, but if you have questions or anything that I might be able to answer now, I'm open to you.
Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment?
No. I would love to hear from Mr. Lawson, just his comment, since I was told that he was going to visit after church on yesterday, so.
And I did go over, and obviously the boat that's currently being used is a temporary boat until their main boat arrives this week. And as Mr. Ramos said, it took about an hour and 5 minutes to get over there one time, and an hour and 10 minutes to come back. So I think that it is a little slower than what the times that were previously they had for Hague Point. And meeting with the residents of Tofusky, I was actually there for at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, and we went through a list of things, and I've got a list of things that that we're still gonna cover. I kind of sent those to John and Hank today to go back through, and a lot of those things are, just the perception of how things are gonna operate. I think that Mr. Turner went there last Tuesday and, explained what he wanted to do, and I think it created some anxiousness because it might be a little different than what was done previously, and how they did things. But I talked to Mr. Turner this morning, as Mr. Robinson did, that we're going to go through this list that I created from yesterday, get answers for all those items, and get those back to the public. And as I, was stated to me from different DeFusky people that have been there a long time, is that, whenever Hague Point took over in 2016, there were some of the same things that went on when it came to just making changes and things like that. We are hoping that we can work those out, figure out the differences, get with the provider, and make sure that we're providing a similar service to what they had previously, and try to offer some of the same services. But again, it will be a little different, again, because we've moved locations, and it is a different boat that have going on. So, but again, to get there and get back, I think the biggest questions is not really moving people, but it's going to be figuring out, as Mr. Robinson said, the cargo and materials that DeFusky so much relies on. That's how it gets over there. A lot of times people go to the grocery store once a week, once a month, and they need to take their things with them and be able to get on the boat and take them. And now is a good time for us to figure out these issues before it is the busy season and you have, so many more tourists that come and bring even more things. So there's a lot of questions that I was brought up yesterday, a lot of things that we'll go through and try to get answers to. And we have those answers to those questions, we'll supply it to everyone here on the council. And again, everyone on DeFusky, again, I probably had 120 people that came to that meeting yesterday. If you look at DeFusky, there's probably 400 full-time residents there, 800 total, 200 probably live in Hague Point. So I had over half of the folks that probably use that service on a regular basis be able to come and voice their opinion and tell me what they thought. I didn't have answers for them, but I told them that I was there to listen, figure out what we needed, and then go back and see what we can do to make this something that's going to be even better than what it was in the past, and something for the future that we've got to move forward with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just one last question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You talked about the contracts being identical. How many
Close.
type questions can we have if they're exactly the same?
I can't answer that, the questions from residents on why they question when most of these things are the same. I will say that we do have a very good relationship with the Hague Point POA, their chairman and their director. We continue to talk. They were providing a very good level of service, but it was well beyond the scope of work for Beaufort County. So I thank you for going out there. I appreciate you doing that and talking with them. And if the folks from DeFusky Island are listening, we hear you. We are listening. We are doing our best to make it better for you. We'll continue to work hard. And now is a good time of year because the ridership is low. So by the time summer comes, I think we'll have a smooth operation. Just so you also know, the Manatee, which is the vessel our new provider purchased out of Florida, is in the Intercoastal Waterway right now. I spoke to him this morning, and I thought it was a one-day trip, but it's a 3-day trip. I learned that one of the issues not issues, but things in our contract as a captain is much like a driver or a pilot of an airplane or a driver of a semi-truck. There's only so many hours a day they can operate. So they can only operate 12 hours a day. So unless, they put a bunch of captains on that boat and get it here in a day and a half, driving it all day and night. So it's a 3-day operation. So we expect it to be here midweek. As soon as it arrives, it already has a COI, which is a certificate of insurance, which is transferable. They've already been working on that. So as soon as it arrives, it can go immediately into service. This is a large vessel, enclosed, air-conditioned, heated, bathrooms on board. So it's a big machine. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much.